Venus is in Scorpio right now. Let's see what it means for the year 2025. Hi, I'm Esoteric Cloud Surfer. I do spirituality, astrology, and tarot. If you enjoy that, leave a like and subscribe, and let's keep going. Venus is the planet of love, relatability, relationship, commitment, gullibility, being too surface leveled, and just doing things for the image of it, but also that can be very good. For example, in Japan, they have a lot of things that you do for the sake of the circumstance, for the sake of the ceremony, but they actually have a meaning behind that. So it can be surface level, but it's also good to create a system that implies a certain value behind a certain action. That's Venus like things. Then we have the energy of Scorpio being fixed water. That means the ability to be fixed, consistent, or stubborn in your emotions, feelings, emotions, dreams, illusions, imaginations, nightmares, and attachment in general. Scorpio is also ruled by Mars, co-ruled by Pluto, and Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. So that means that not only you can be fixed on your emotions and feelings, Scorpio energy can also make people, events, and spaces fixed on desires, passion, motivation, anger, and frustration. The co-ruling of Pluto means there is also always a little bit of extreme depth, transformation, power and control issues, and also being aware of things that have huge meaning for your overall development or your overall life. Because it can be just a part of your life, and you can feel it's like Pluto like thing when you become aware of something or when the pieces come all together and be like, whoa, that changes how we see myself, that changes how I see life in general. And then the exaltation of Uranus comes again to play with the transformation aspect of Scorpio, because it means that Scorpios can go too far with change, opposition, and rebelliousness, and a lot of change in a short period of time equals to transformation. So Venus in Scorpio basically is relating, loving, committing, finding beauty, or being too surface level with or about deep feelings, deep emotions, deep passion, frustration, anger, and motivation. This can be good because it can be easier for you and others to relate and find the relation, find the connection between your deep desires, deep emotions, or deep feelings. Also, it can help you and others relate transformative or traumatic circumstances or create value, or it can be easier for others to see value in how you went through or what principles, what emotions you have created out of deep or traumatic circumstance, out of deep transformative or traumatic circumstances. On a more negative side, you might feel too internal, you might feel too separated from the world, you might feel too enclosed in your own feelings and emotions to be able to relate, commit, and appreciate freely. Also, one of the aspects that it's negatively associated with Venus being too surface leveled, taking too many things for face value, can actually help the energy of Scorpio be a bit lighter and still execute societal and friendship actions, keeping a pretty light face while going through a lot of deep transformations. So also it can help you separate two things. It can help you operate into different ways, because sometimes that's exactly what you need. Sometimes you need to still do things in the real world and be processing deep internal things. So with Venus in Scorpio, it's a bit easier for you to put a pretty face and go outside and do stuff while going through some deep transformations inside. Also, really good, this energy can bring the opportunity for you to really identify value and valuable circumstances and partners, because Venus rules Taurus, the opposition of Scorpio. So Venus like energy, Venus like people can be fooled or get too attached or get too mighty or too insecure about materialistic values, about status, about achieving something, about maintaining something, about attracting something. And that can be an illusion, that can be a distraction, that can be too much baggage, and that can make their eyes blind to real value, which is in this case with Venus in Scorpio, the real value. When I say real, it's like it can balance the Taurus like energy. It can bring real value because what's the value on an object? What's the value on status? It's something behind it, right? There is an emotion, a feeling, a purpose, a sense of authority, achievement, fulfillment, a sense of stress, a sense of safety. And with Venus in Scorpio, even though it can be a bit hard to see, it can be a bit problematic, it can be a bit weird even to go through those experiences, you can find real value, or others can find real value in you when it comes to being purposeful, being strong in your core set of values. Because in Libra, the other sign that Venus rules, it's a bit easier to be with your core set of values, even though you can be still too gullible or still too considerate to others' opinions. In Taurus, it's a bit harder to have that clear perspective. Once Taurus has a clear perspective, nobody can move them away from their core set of values. But until they go through the insecurity, until they go through the fear of not having, until they go through the fear of being seen like somebody that is in need or something, Taurus can they can be the most realistic and the most non-realistic people at the same time. They can be very straight on point. They know everything they need to do in a certain circumstance. You can't budge their sense of directness, but at the same time they can have the most silly insecurities associated with objects, status, the way they standing at the meeting. I don't know, that reveal in the, they reveal that reveals that I'm struggling financially or something, and maybe they're not even struggling financially. They just wanted to buy something that's really expensive and don't have the money for that right now. That's another story, right? But Venus in Scorpio really helps balancing that because it brings the real value, and others can relate to you, and you can see in others easier if they have those real values about being strong in your own core of emotional values, being strong in your spirituality, deriving value from transformative circumstances, and knowing why certain things have value, knowing why a certain object, a certain person, a certain organization are being so valued right now. Venus in Taurus is more like, oh, that's valuable, let's use that. Venus in Scorpio is more like going a bit deeper, going behind the doors, behind the curtains, be like, hold on, why is that so valuable? Why are people caring so much about that person, about that object, about that company? Oh, it's because it invokes this feeling. Oh, it's because people went through this transformative circumstance and they need this to feel in a certain way. They need this to feel in a secure way. They need this so they can have a vision about the future that is safe and secure. You know what I'm saying? Venus in Scorpio can also make you and others find beauty in parts within yourself that you thought they weren't efficient, they weren't pretty, they were not a part of you. You wanted to separate from them. You wanted to cast them away. And now you can relate better with deep internal parts of yourself and even like some mistakes, some things you wish you have done in the past, some things you wish you haven't done in the past. You can see them easier right now as lessons. You can see easier the value in them, or somebody in your surroundings. Once you express deeper parts of yourself to them, they can come to you and in a more logical, sophisticated way telling, oh, that's valuable because you went through that situation and that transformed you in a way that you are now stronger, for an example. Or you went through a situation and then you are more aware of emotional perception of yourself and others, and that's valuable. A bit on another negative side, it can be too easy to be committed, attached, and associate value to people, pleasant things, including yourself, that are more animalistic, more sexual, more emotional, or more toxic. So you can now, or others, easily find or renew commitment, value, and gullibility to toxic circumstances, for an example, or somebody might be making you think that that relationship is really good because of sexual desires, because they're paying for you, because they make you feel afraid or they make you feel secure, but it's not really real. They're not really present. They're not really giving you stability. They're not really giving you value. Or you can be the other one that just is giving this feeling of excitement or depth, and you're just not really there to support, to grow together, to bring value, and to see value. But it's easier to be deceived by sexual or emotional pleasure or by toxicity and fear, because now everybody's, especially the sun is also in Scorpio, so everybody's a bit more reactive, a bit more emotional, a bit more on those deep emotions and feelings. So it's easier to come in and look smooth, be smooth, talk smooth, and relate in a smooth way, and then use what people want to see right now, Scorpio like things, to commit or make commitments, to make relationships, and to create a false sense of value. Now let's take a look at how Venus in Scorpio is aligning the rest of the natal chart for the year 2025. We have Mercury in Sagittarius, fatal attracting Venus in Scorpio. So this is easier to think, communicate, and analyze in a more mutable, fiery, expressive, light, and spiritual way about yours and others' deep values, things connected to relationships, commitment, and gullibility. We have also Mars in Sagittarius. So this also fatal attracting Venus in Scorpio, and this is a way to make things lighter, to release or to be more lost about passion, motivation, anger, and frustration, about spirituality, or creating or being a part of a community based on your personal testimonies, personal belief systems, or just a more exciting, light, and spiritual way to communicate and approach your passions. So it's easier to either bring a deeper, more private, and secure way to relate and commit, or you can bring a more lighter, expressive way to be passionate and to be frustrated about the spirituality, the wisdom, the knowledge, and the expansion about those more deep, transformative, and even traumatic or toxic ways to relate, commit, and have pleasure. On a positive side, Mars and Mercury in Sagittarius can help you release, and it's very important for fixed signs, but especially Scorpios and Taurus to release, because they are the ones that accumulate the most, and they are the ones that it's the most difficult to release because of the earth and the water element. And too much accumulation can cause explosions, can cause blindness, or you having too much in front of you of your own substance that you can see your surroundings, you can be aware of things in front of you. So through thinking and communicating, and through being passionate or frustrated about spirituality, expansion, wisdom, knowledge, and travel, you can release heavy amounts of emotion and energy from your relationships and the way that you relate and the way that you see and achieve value, sophistication, and beauty. And Venus here works more as an anchor in a more light and sophisticated way to keep Mercury and Mars in Sagittarius around and loyal to yours and others' emotional and spiritual core set of values. Or on a negative side, it can keep too many insecurities, too much toxicity and traumatic situations floating around Mars and Mercury in Sagittarius. Then we have Jupiter in Cancer, trining Venus in Scorpio. So a gift to expand, to travel, and obtain wisdom and knowledge in new ways, in new creative, maybe insecure and nervous ways about yours and others, fixed, consistent, or stubborn feelings and emotions, toxicity and transformation about relationships, gullibility, values, and commitment. On the other side, we have a gift to relate, commit, or be gullible in a more fixed, internal, and emotional way about new ways to expand, travel, or obtain spiritual wisdom and knowledge, spiritual travels, and spiritual places of comfort or genesis. So imagine you are creating new spiritual perspectives, new spiritual wisdom and knowledge, new spiritual moods, for an example, or you have a new way to create emotions and feelings, and it's easier to bring consistency or stubbornness when relating or communicating the value or being communicated the value about those things through others or when you doing that to others. Saturn in Pisces also trining Venus in Scorpio, so a gift to bring structure, limits and boundaries to how you and others are relating, being gullible or having pleasure in deep emotional and spiritual ways, or a gift to be stubborn or consistent by relating, by committing and being gullible with and about deep emotions and feelings. The thing is that these two planets are a bit in opposing energies. Saturn is more about structure, yet it's on Pisces, which is way more mutable and way more flexible. And then Venus, it's more about communicating, being aware of other things, being aware of the society. So it's a bit more free planet, and then it's in a very focused and very fixed sign. So they can bring balance to each other. Not only they are training each other, they can also bring balance. Venus can teach Saturn how to be a bit more flexible. Saturn here can teach Venus how to be a bit more responsible and fixed in their own perspective, but they kind of already learning that lesson, or we are already learning that lesson by those two planets being in those two signs. Then you have Uranus in the cusp of Taurus and Gemini, recently went retrograde, but let's still assume it was in Gemini, so it's in conjuncting Venus in Scorpio. So misunderstanding, new ways to communicate, think, and analyze in mutable and cold ways about change and opposition, with the ability to be relatable, gullible, and pleasurable about deep emotions, deep feelings, and deep transformative circumstances. Then we have Neptune in Pisces as well, trining Venus in Scorpio. So a gift to have crazy expansions, big dreams, big illusions, and big imaginations associated to yours or others' ways to relate, be gullible, or commit with deep emotions, deep feelings, and deep transformative circumstances. And lastly but not least, Pluto in Aquarius squaring Venus in Scorpio, learning how to transform and how to go through the worldly transformation into the age of Aquarius, where the main point is to be your own mind, to be in your own unique reality that can allow you and others to express their unique mind in their unique way. So learning how to do that while relating, committing, having pleasure, and being gullible about deep emotions, deep transformations, and even toxicity. So, learning how to use toxicity, for an example, in a relatable way, in a surface level way, to keep you protected from any too dry, too logical, too corporate circumstances or people that can get closer to you through this transformation. And also, Venus can teach us in this specific moment how to be more emotionally aware of ourselves and others, so we make sure that the world around you and your world, it's not going to become too dry, too cold, and too corporate, because that's the negative side. It's the growing pains basically of Pluto in Aquarius, is that we think too much of AI, corporate stuff, too much coldness, too much separation, not caring about people, not caring about art, not caring about real value. And Venus in Scorpio is exactly teaching us that, to relate and know how to be related to about deep emotions, deep feelings, spiritual and emotional values. Thank you for watching. I wish you the best, and I see you soon.